Hi there, and welcome to Thursday night. It is Facebook Live, the real life edition. I apologize for the lighting. I didn't realize that this lamp that I'm sitting in front of would make me look so yellow. So it just is what it is at this point. You're just going to have to deal with it. I wanted to be on time tonight. So I have a really kind of an important topic to talk about. This is kind of a tough one for me. For multiple reasons, because we're going to talk about why it's not okay to hate yourself. And so I always talk about how this applies to me as well. I usually start with confessions, but let me just first start out by saying, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't have a professional degree in this. This is just how I feel about things in my life and how others how I feel like they should see it in their lives. Granted, I know that everybody has their own opinion, and I'm not trying to necessarily change that for you. However, I've been around long enough to know that, there are certain things in life are super important, and I really want people to understand that I believe in them, and I want them to be the happiest that they possibly can be. And if I can just give people hope or give them, a belief that I believe in them, I love them. I love people in general. I do love people. As a matter of fact, I tend to love people until they prove to me I shouldn't. And it does happen. I have been let down and had some things happen in my life. But I'm normal, I'm human. I'm real. And so that's why I do these Thursday night options. I'm just hoping that maybe somebody can hear something that helps them to take a new step in their life. So, hi, Jasper. And I really enjoy these Facebook Lives. I love people's feedback. So definitely don't be afraid to leave a message. But let me tell you why what got me kind of onto this subject. I don't watch a lot of TV. I just don't have time. I don't choose to take the time to watch a lot of TV. There's a few shows that I really enjoy, but I just happen to have seen a couple of interesting things the last couple of weeks that really bothered me. And so, hi Mo. She says she learned to love herself because, thank you. She said that I motivated her. Mo, I'm so proud of you. There's such great things coming along. Mo has done such a great job of becoming healthy. She moved clear across the United States, and we still stay in contact, and I love that. So I love the people in my life, just so you know. So back to the two things that really happened in the last couple of weeks that really kind of sparked this topic tonight. Number one, and I'm trying to remember which show it was. I have this weird fascination with the show Say Yes to the Dress. I don't know why, but I believe that was the show. And there was a bigger girl on there. And one of the things that she said as she was struggling to find a dress that fit her, I might cry, was that she felt that she was bad because she was big. I don't relate that. However, I do understand that feeling. Having been obese at one point myself, you struggle with the thoughts because of how people look at you, that there's something wrong with you. And I really had a hard time with that. The second thing that happened, there's a new show on TLC. Like I said, apparently that's the station and the show, the channel I watch a lot. There's a new show. I haven't watched it because I'm not a huge fan of reality TV. I just don't love it. Called Meet the Putmans, and I just happened to have seen one of their previews or one of their commercials for the upcoming episode, and the one wife was going to go out with her husband, and he bought her a dress, and she held it up to her, and he said, why don't you want to wear it? Don't you like the dress? And she said, well, I like it's not the dress that I don't like, it's me. I don't think I've ever cried online before. I really struggle with that. Here's the thing, guys. First of all, we all do it. We all have times when we are unhappy with ourselves, when there's certain things that we don't like. We're going to talk a little bit about why those things might happen. Again, I'm not an expert at this, but confessions from me. Here's my confession for tonight. I have those times too. There's a lot of things I do love about myself, but there are times when I don't like myself. You can ask my husband. There are times where I've actually said, I hate myself right now. No, I believe I understand where that comes from. I am a perfectionist. I know that about myself. I set really, really high, sometimes very unrealistic expectations of myself. And when I fail to meet those, I really have a difficult time with that. And I can get really down on myself. Hey, Heather. Yeah, right? We do that. And I think sometimes, especially as women, because we carry so many different, things on our shoulders, we can get a little overwhelmed and feel like we're failing. I've had a lot of those times in my life where I feel like I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not enough as a mother, I'm not enough as, in my business and as a person, whatever it is. Sometimes I really struggle with that. So again, I'm real. I have those difficulties. The other thing that I really, truly struggle with is when I feel like I've let someone down. I would never purposefully hurt someone. That is not in my nature. That is not my personality. But once in a while, I feel like I have failed someone, and I really struggle with that. So although, those aren't, I know people have had much, much worse things in their lives happen to them. We all have our demons. We all have our issues. There's things that happen. And Shelley's talking, yes, anxiety and depression, is a rough one. I have a couple of ideas on those things, but that would be for another day and another topic. But we will talk a little bit about how to resolve some of these things. Like I said, this is not my expertise. I highly, highly recommend, if you are really struggling, that you consult a professional. That is their job. My job tonight is just to hopefully inspire you to do something. First of all, couple of things, like I said, we're all human. Sorry, I'm moving my stuff around here. We're all human. We all make mistakes. That is life, right? And I do try to remember when somebody does something, when someone hurts my feelings, or when something happens, I try to remember that we are all human and we all make mistakes. That's just how we were designed. We're supposed to learn from that. But couple of things. Number one, again, confessions. This is just me being real. I don't currently attend church. I did for most of my childhood, but even that being said, I do believe in God, and I in no way, shape, or form believe that God would put us here to hate each other or to hate ourselves. I really don't believe that. I believe that we were put here in this life on this earth in order to learn to help each other and to be happy. Sorry, I'm on like really high speed Wi-Fi and it's giving me some issues, so I apologize. So, why we get to the point where we hate ourselves, well, let's talk about that. And like I said, I'm not here to solve anybody's, yeah, I do in some small way want to save the world, but I know that this is not, again, my expertise. So I don't want anyone to take necessarily complete advice from me. Again, I just want you to be inspired to do something, to figure out how and what makes you happy. There's some major things that happens when we're not. So couple of things, reasons why we might struggle with this. You guys realize that how we look at things at this point in our lives, as adults, stems from our past experiences. A lot of times things happen that we don't have control over. Sometimes we're victims of issues that, especially as children, we don't have control over that as well. So my heart goes out to those that have experienced that. But, maybe a childhood trauma has brought you to a point where you struggle with your self-worth and the fact whether or not you love or respect yourself. That I know that happens. It breaks my heart, but it happens. I think a lot of us compare ourselves to others. I know that's very common. Being in the fitness industry, of course, that happens a lot. There are times where I have to actually shut out social media, really focus on the things that do make me happy, my friends, my family, my job, helping other people, because it's really easy to play the comparison game and think, well, she's prettier than I am, she's smarter than I am, they do better than I do. If we were all the same, how boring would we all be? That's not appealing. Nobody was sent here to be average. We all have something to give, a skill, a talent, something in this life. So that's important. But we have to be careful when we're comparing ourselves to others. There are definitely things that I am not good at. Fortunately, at this point in my life, I'm old enough and have enough experience that there's a lot of things about myself that I'm okay with. I am who I am, and I'm okay with that. So, in a lot of ways, I'm doing okay, but a lot of us do. We compare ourselves. Another big one. I know that it started, in school. Kids can be really cruel to each other because for whatever reason. But sometimes the opinions of others means more to you than how you feel about yourself or what the truths really are. Thank you, Holly. I appreciate that. By the way, yeah. So keep in mind that the couple things happen. And I know that this happens on several levels. Like I said, you may have been bullied as a child. You may have been called names. I was never the popular girl. I've always been a little bit outgoing, although last week I told you, I'm an introvert, so that's kind of an interesting one. But I've never been the popular one. So those things, those stigmas stick with us as we get older. Not only that, but some of us have been through experiences in our lives. I'm aware I have a blessed life. I know that I have not had some of the issues that other people have had, but I've watched people go through abuse, whether it was abuse as a child or from a former spouse or situations that, by the way, nobody deserves. Nobody deserves to go through that. But that can take a huge toll on your heart, your soul, and who you are. So really, I think the only thing that I can say about that, whether it's that traumatic or whether it's even just something as simple as, somebody just told you that they didn't care how you do something. Don't give your power away. Don't let other people determine who you are and how you feel about you or about any of your world. That is your choice. Don't give that power to someone else. Because that's what you're doing when you choose to listen to what other people have an opinion on. So the other one that can be really traumatic, and I understand, I've been through divorce myself on 2 levels. My parents were divorced when I was very young. And when I was 22, I was divorced from my first husband, and I call that my practice marriage. And that was a situation where it just was not the right situation for us, although we have an incredible son in common. But that can be traumatic. I've watched that rip families apart, and that can really play a role in your self-worth. So, usually the way that you feel is, of course, determined by some experience that you've had in the past. It might skew the way that you look at the world, which also may change how you feel about yourself. So, the other thing is our current beliefs, like I said, come from how we grew up, things that have happened to us in the past. Maybe you have the same ideas or the same belief system that your parents have. You might share in those beliefs. Or how about influential people in your life? And if you've been around people who don't have a positive system, if you didn't have a really great positive role model, you might, struggle with that. So I like to call this at this point, it has to become the art of loving yourself. You have to learn to love yourself. And even if you don't love yourself right now, you must at least respect yourself, right? You must respect your body. You must respect the person that you were put on this earth to be. So one of the things that I highly recommend, some of the ideas that I have tonight, I do a lot of research before I hop on here just to make sure that hopefully I can hit on something that will help everybody. And I got some of these great ideas from a website called goodtherapy.com. There was an article written by Stacy Friedenthal. She has a PhD in I believe, psychology. And so some of these are her ideas, and a couple of them are just things that, I have worked for me or I feel help people. Number one, if you are really struggling to find something good about yourself, I really think it's important that you stop and that you either do a gratitude journal where you write down things that you are grateful for. I think it's a great idea to make a list of skills that you have. Listen, if you have a job, you have skills and talents. If you have friends, guys, you have skills and talents. It takes time and energy and ability that you have to make and keep friends. Make a list of those things, blessings, things you are grateful for. Highly recommend that you find at least 3 to 5 things just right now that you are happy with yourself about. But actually, I think the very first question that I should ask is, number one, do you want to be happy? Do you want to be happy? Because if you want to be happy, then we need to take the next step and find ways to do so. And again, that has to be a choice. Nobody can choose that for you. That has to come from inside. But it's a great start. You know, for years, I worked with Mary Kay Cosmetics as a sales director, and one of the things that they talked about when we were really struggling was to start a gratitude journal, which I think is awesome, because sometimes we get so wrapped up in the negativity of our lives, we forget to see those daily little blessings that happen, whether it's your family, maybe it's just the people that are around you, maybe it's the fact that you have a roof over your head. Maybe it's the fact that you have a car to drive or change to get on the bus. Those are all things to be grateful for. So that's important. Now, some of the ideas that Stacy, the author of this article, had, I really like this idea. She says, talk to yourself like someone you love, right? Would you talk to your children or your best friend the way that you talk to yourself? If not, you probably should change that. Right? We're the hardest on ourselves. There's times where you say things to yourself that you wouldn't say to even someone you don't even know very well, but yet you're speaking to the one person that you should love in a most horrible negative way. Again, only you can change that. It's kind of that little devil and angel on your shoulders. You have to decide who gets to take over. And again, that's your choice. It can't be up to someone else. Something to remember, that beliefs are not truths. Sometimes you have to go back and look at what those beliefs are and go back to say, is that really true? Right? Or is this just my mind, making up something to make me feel miserable? Because just because you believe it doesn't mean that it's actually a true fact. We just happen to spin it way out of control and then, of course, feel horrible about ourselves. Embrace the idea of being good enough. And this one is a stressful one for me. This is a rough one because, again, I feel like if I'm going to do something, I got to put 1,000,000% into it. I'm looking way above my ability to think I've got to be able to accomplish this at a level that's unrealistic. So sometimes we have to step back and think, okay, is this good enough? Let's at least try it, because you never know. Maybe that's what really we were looking for, even though our expectations were different. If you are really struggling and if there's no other options but you believe in God or religion, you might need to look to that direction for peace. If you're so busy all the time that you can't stop to really figure out how to be calm and listen to your soul and your heart, you might need to find a way to do so. And if you can't find peace, God can give you that. If you find that you have made a mistake that you are just struggling with and you can't seem to overcome it, and by the way, thank you for all your comments, guys. I am reading them. It is, our feelings are so difficult sometimes to get through and define. But when it comes to something maybe in your past that you've done, or if you feel like there's a mistake there, make amends. There are steps to get through that, whether you need to make an apology to someone, whether you need to rectify something that you've done. If that's your struggle, there's a way to get through that. But I think the biggest thing is most people are willing to forgive you. But you also have to find a way to forgive yourself as well. And even though that's the most difficult one, it's the most important one. The other thing that I think is important, like I said, if it's something that you can't seem to get through by yourself, please get help. I think that's something that's super important. Get professional help, somebody who knows how to guide you through the situation. Because I know that there are issues out there that nobody else might be able to help you through, and talking it out with a friend might not help solve you or help you solve that issue, but somebody who has experience with dealing with it can. And I think that that's important. So I guess my thoughts on this would be, first of all, like I said, I think we need to focus on what's on the inside. Just because, Again, I've been obese, I've been bigger. I know the feeling of not feeling good enough, but being in that situation, having a certain trait like that does not make you a bad person. You know, you are what you are inside, and if goodness radiates inside you, that's who you are. It's not dependent upon your shape or size. You have to make a conscious decision to change this. No, like I said, nobody can do it for you. You have to learn to respect yourself. And I think it comes in stages. I think first you respect yourself, then you learn to have self-compassion, and then at some point you grow to learn to love yourself. And that's important. So no matter what anyone else says, it has to be up to you to change that inner voice, because of course we're the only ones that can hear that negative self-talk. Find a way to make it better, find a way to get rid of the negative Nelly. And you're the only one that can choose to be happy. One of my favorite all-time, and my kids hate when I bring this up, but one of my favorite quotes is that, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you choose to deal with it, or how you choose to perceive it. So, I've seen people who've had the most miserable circumstances, the most horrible upbringing, been victims of some pretty intense things in their lives, but they are some of the most positive, amazing people that I know, because they choose to take every day as a blessing. They choose to live life to its very, very fullest. And I've also seen the opposite. People who might not even have had that bad of situations in their lives, but yet can only dwell on the negative, and it's killing them inside. So it has to be your choice about them. Sorry, again, I have like very high speed Wi-Fi, and it keeps doing this to me. It keeps cutting out. So anyhow, hopefully you have learned something tonight that has inspired you. I believe in you. I don't even care if we know each other. You know what? We're here to be happy, and I'm willing to help you if that's something that you feel that can happen. So have an incredible evening. God bless, and we'll see you next week.